Hello, my name's Molly Cooper, and in this vlog I'll be documenting my approach to a series of auditions in our professional development sessions, covering my initial approach and independent rehearsals, key moments of learning during the development process, and how I refine this for future auditions in a series of different contexts. This will touch on group auditions, pair auditions, self-tapes, and in-the-room auditions, and how our methods needed to be adapted for each context. I will also be exploring the different acting techniques applied from both feedback from the audition itself as well as from other areas of my course, and how these benefited me in the context of an audition. All other actors featured in this vlog have given their full consent for their material to be used. At the beginning of our course, we were set auditions that needed to be filmed as self-tapes, filmed independently before the deadline without any direction from an external director. One in particular was an excerpt from Red Rose, a British horror drama that was directed and written by Michael and Paul Clarkson. The brief set stated, "The scene is from a TV series called Red Rose. In terms of playing the scene, keep it light and fun. These characters are going to a party. Until they hit the woman, then it all becomes real. The scene says that the man is filming the woman. Please set up the camera in landscape mode so we can see you both clearly and in the shot. Please learn the lines for this one. Deadline, Monday the 18th of October. We were put into pairs as the brief was set, allowing myself and my partner Nick time to communicate and rehearse prior to filming the self-tape. We spent time in the rehearsal studio allowing ourselves to set up properly, in front of a blank wall in a well-lit space. We decided to use our knowledge from our acting development classes, using the donut technique used in our acting for camera sessions, setting the area around the camera lens so that our eyes are still in shot without breaking the fourth wall or looking too far away. We also established a fourth side, the term coined by Uta Hagen, that allowed us to pinpoint and endow imaginary objects on the imagined fourth wall behind the camera, that we as actors could look to an imagined object with specificity. In my case, I was driving a car in the scene and needed to establish an authentic eyeline to focus on, as well as having hit the person with the car. My partner and I needed to establish a point to look at in front of us that we were both clear on. This consisted of a mark on the curtain in front of us and the chair that the camera was set up on. Once we had established these, we did a practice run with the markers, ready to film our self-tape. We decided not to do a lot of takes as we would start overthinking it, so we took one rehearsal take and then our final take, as sometimes the first take that you do happens to be the best. We received feedback mostly on the technical aspects of filming an audition, focusing specifically on the importance of the eyeline. Our use of the fourth side and markers was great, although we were advised on how often we blinked in front of the camera, as well as establishing eye contact with each other. That can always strengthen an audition. I was told to make sure that my hair was off my face, as part of my hair sometimes falls over my right eye, and to remember that the eyes are the window to the soul. I was also advised to balance my reaction in between lines that would be used in editing for a show like Red Rose, with also taking my time and not rushing through the scene. It was great to receive this technical feedback, as it would help us with future auditions, as well as give us an understanding of what casting directors will be looking for. We later moved on to another paired audition for the play Home I'm Darling by Laura Wade. Unlike Red Rose, we weren't given our scene partner until the day of the audition, but we were still allowed to read the script before we entered the audition room. Here is the brief that was set for us. Have a good read of the play, and then I'd like you to prepare the first scene. The men will be reading for Johnny and the women for Judy. On the day you'll be auditioning in pairs. This can often happen in the industry. You can be paired with someone at the audition and read with them. Please don't worry about learning the text. This isn't a memory test. Just be comfortable with the character and have a good read of the play. In preparation, I did some external reading about the synopsis of the play, so I had a wider understanding of the whole context of the play, as well as the character that I would be auditioning for. On the day of the audition, I was partnered with Tom, and we were given 20 minutes outside of the audition room to establish our characters and run through it together. We wanted to exaggerate and heighten the really prim and proper nature of living in middle-class 1950s, so we brought in our understanding of foundation RP from our voice lessons. We were invited into the room and sat for a brief discussion with the director, who asked us a couple of questions, like what we thought of the play and how the context had informed our approach to the scene. We ran the first take as we had rehearsed it, sat together in two chairs in front of the camera in front of the director. He then gave us some small feedback in positioning ourselves in the shot, and then redirected to heighten the idea that living in the 1950s environment in the present day is something that I want, but that Johnny does not. Approaching it this way allowed us to higher the stakes and increase the tension between the characters, as well as for the director to see how well we as actors can respond to feedback and direction in the room. Upon receiving feedback after rewatching our audition back, we were told not only to research the play as a whole, but also to research the playwright, their other works and their backgrounds. It gives us a wider understanding of the play as a whole, which may be beneficial to understanding the broader context and meaning of the play, as well as the fact that we may be working with them if the audition is successful. We were told that we take direction well, and that we were able to adjust ourselves accordingly and to show our understanding and range as an actor. We were told technically that even if we were allowed script in hand, that we would need to be familiar enough with it so that we weren't relying on it too heavily, and if we were to use it, we positioned it with the camera so that our eyes are consistently in shot rather than looking down too often. The first of our group auditions was a family theatre audition for The Jungle Book, adapted for stage by Jessica Swale. We weren't told much about the audition process prior to the audition itself or what it would consist of, but we were allowed to choose whichever character we wanted to autonomously and from what section of the play. Here's the set brief. Below is a copy of the Jungle Book script for you to read before next week's Family Theatre Show audition. It'll be a workshop style audition. Read the script and select a character you wish to audition for. Select and prepare a small section to read. Prepare an appropriate song to sing a cappella that suits the character. Having free rein to choose a character meant that we needed to have a clear understanding of the play as a whole, and how the scene we would pick would fit into the wider context of the play. We were also allowed to pick and choose our own a cappella song to perform that needed to be suitable for both the character and a family theatre audition. After reading the script in its entirety, I decided to audition for the character of Car, the serpent, who, with my experience as a drag performer and the scene that I had chosen for her, I could approach her characterisation as a cabaret elder who is stuck in wanting to look like her youth, and that is the cause for her misery in the scene. I also chose The Act of the Apostle by Belle and Sebastian for my audition song. I know that it's suitable for my vocal range, as well as a song that I am incredibly familiar with, and is suitable for a character like Car, who is bored out of her mind and is searching for a better life. I did also consider auditioning for Baloo, but when it came to Car's physicality, I could approach that with more integrity. When it came to the audition, we were told that it would be a group audition in the style of a workshop, giving us various activities to prepare us and get us in the mindset of an audition. We began with a group-focused task in which we were given a series of instructions to follow, i.e. clapping, jumping, starting, stopping, to bring our minds directly into the room ready for the audition. For me, I was slightly nervous for this audition, so beginning with this task allowed me to put any sort of nerves to one side and allow myself into the room entirely. We then escalated this task into physically embodying our character with movement and voice, something I had considered greatly before going into this. I wanted to play the character quite sultry and seriously, as to emphasise the humour in her being the butt of the joke in the scene she's in. After being put into groups of 5, we were directed to invent a game that is written in the script called Lead the Hunt, where, as a pack of wolves, a leader would be selected and the rest of the pack would hunt. With this being a segment on ensemble acting, we wanted to incorporate the use of call and response with animal sounds, led by one individual, but anyone in the pack could challenge them by roaring at any point. This was so that one person didn't just carry the whole exercise, and that everyone was given the opportunity to lead. Finally, in different groups, we needed to come up with a monkey dance that said the word monkey 25 times. We chose not to overcomplicate this, as monkeys are very sporadic in nature, and we wanted to keep it playful and silly, so we would holler and bang on our chests while dancing in a circle. All of this was to give us the energy and excitement for the scene audition and the song afterwards. The feedback I received was that my choices for Car were clear and justified, and that it was a suitable character for me to portray. The song was suitable and performed nicely, but I was informed that I did lose a bit of the Car physicality while I was singing, despite having performed it well. I think that now I've attempted this audition style, and if I were given the opportunity to do so again, I would audition for a character that is a little bit more out of my comfort zone, and push my physical limits and open more opportunities for me as an actor, and receive feedback on that as well. Similar to The Jungle Book, we did another audition in the style of a workshop, but this time it was for The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Once again, we were allowed to choose our character between either Ariel or Caliban, and we were allowed to choose any monologue that either of them had throughout the whole play. Here was the set brief. Next week, we'll be doing a group audition for The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Please thoroughly read the play and get very familiar with the story. Also, could you choose one of the following characters to read for, Ariel or Caliban? Please look through the play and prepare a short speech of your choice. I was unfamiliar with the plot of The Tempest, so in preparation I watched the Royal Shakespeare Company's 2017 adaptation online to help inform my choices on which character to audition for. Taking my reflection from our Jungle Book audition, I decided this would be a good opportunity for me to step out of my comfort zone physically and audition for Caliban. He is a monstrous native to the island The Tempest is set in, as well as a comic relief character, so this would allow me to go for something that I had not yet auditioned for. I chose not to audition for Ariel as I envisioned them as a more flowy and delicate character, almost gliding across the stage, and this was too similar to my characterization for Car in the Jungle Book. I chose to audition with his all infections that the sun soaks up monologue, as it would give me a good chance to get in some physical comedy, heightening the sickliness of Caliban as well as his scatty and frightened nature. To help me learn this monologue, I used a performance technique of imagining the imagery described in each line to help me envision this world I was creating, as this monologue in particular was very visual and descriptive. This technique would come in very helpful when we came to the audition day and would begin to create this world as part of the audition process. First, we played a warm-up game using call and response as a group where someone would absorb a ball and would react with their body and voice, creating soundscapes in unison, feeling it around the whole body and then propel it to another person in the group. This exercise will be brought back later in the audition. We then made a shipwreck out of objects we could find in the room, such as coats, chairs and brooms akin to the one in the play. We were given 15 minutes to choreograph a shipwreck as the crew members on board, and, as inspired by our movement workshop with Effie Answer for the play Knots and Crosses, choreographed a shipwreck using intervals of peace, chaos and slow motion, raising the objects above our heads before crashing them down to the ground and exploring states of panic. After the shipwreck, we were told to leave everything where it was, and this would be our playing space for the monologues. We began by running our monologue as rehearsed with free rein to explore the set, reacting with the surroundings and creating the world The Tempest is set in. My rehearsal technique came in incredibly useful here, as I had managed to envision this world prior to going into the audition, and was able to project that onto the set that we had created. After this, we were given some redirection, and some of the other auditioners were brought into the scene as nymphs and other mystical creatures to taunt and follow Caliban and Ariel, giving us other things to react to if we were delivering the monologue, and bringing the collaborative warm-up prior to this if we were part of the ensemble. I surprised myself with how much fun I had with this audition, as sometimes I find Shakespeare a bit of a challenge. But allowing myself in rehearsal time to really understand what was being presented in the monologue, combined with the exciting audition workshop, working as an ensemble in an immersive environment, helped me put my mind at ease, and I think this resulted in quite a successful audition for myself. I was happy with my character choice for this audition too, but upon reflection, I think I should have allowed myself a little bit more time to be more clear on the actual words of the monologue, to really allow myself to be fully immersed in the environment that we had created. I think having this experience in such a wide range of different audition types was incredibly helpful in allowing myself to adapt to what is expected in different audition contexts. For instance, understanding when camera technique would need to be used, or when collaborative efforts with other people in the audition would be expected. I'm beginning to establish a clear idea of what my casting type would be, and what my go-to characters tend to be when being allowed to choose my own audition material. I understand the fundamentals of the audition process, as well as garnering more confidence in how to approach an audition, both in prior rehearsal as well as I'm in the room. But I think most importantly, I need to develop this confidence in myself that I do know the audition material, and don't need to use a script as a prop as often as I do, whether that be subconscious or not.